Delta 2648, descend and maintain 7,000.
Alright, descend at 7,000, Delta 2648.
Boy 3130, reduce speed to 210.
210 speed on board 3130.
Sorry, United 887, approaching the bridge for 2 left.
United 887, San Francisco Tailwind, come, runway 28 left, third line.
30 left, third line, United 887.
Hey guys, Southern Aviator here. Finally able to make a video. It's been a while. I do apologize for that. Went on vacation, then I had to come off vacation, went back to work, and then I got a little bit sick. So, you know, it's been kind of eventful for the past month or so, but I hope you guys understand. But anyway, in this video, I want to get into polar operations, you know, just try to describe that a bit. I will water this down so it pertains to flight simulator. There are things you do in the real world, but you just won't do them in a sim. So anyway, let's get it going. I decided I'm going to use a Newark to Hong Kong flight to demonstrate this. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a flight. Looks like the computer's locking up for some reason. There we go. I think United operates this flight as United 179, but it's really of no consequence. We're gonna go from Newark to Hong Kong. It is scheduled. Let's get a 777. It's international, and that's really the only thing that's worth putting in here. All right, so let's save that and let's flight plan it. Alright, so here we go. Looks like the direct route, of course, takes us right over to the North Pole. That was the point. Alright, so let's go ahead and plan it. Alright, so you're going to start out with your basic stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and randomize a lot of this stuff because it's the route building that I really want to get into. So I just want to put some basic stuff in here to get it going. Take off, calculate the landing restrictions. I'm sure you guys know how to do all this stuff. Alright, so as far as finding the route, I want to optimize it, and I want it to be a minimum time. You know, I want to get there as quick as possible. As a matter of fact, let's go to the advanced one. Alright, so right off the bat, I want to figure out what is the way in which ATC likes for people to route out of their airspace, especially since, again, it's out of a New York airspace. Now, you really want to do this out of pretty much any airport that you're flying out of. You want to find out ATC's preferred routing into and out of an airport. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go to FlightAware. I already got a flight pulled up here, but what you could do is just go here, go to Flight Finder, put in your airports. Pretty straightforward. I like to go down here and turn off connections, so I just have the direct flights, and let's just go ahead and click on this one. It looks like it's en route. So yeah, he's going over the polar cap this way. But anyway, so you see here Grecky, Judds, Martin, then after that it's Latin Long. So and if you look, probably Cathway is doing something kind of similar. Let's just click on this one. Yeah, Grecky, Judds, and then Cameron VOR, I think that is. So you know what, let's just go ahead and take that one. Grecky, Judds, Cameron. Just copy that on. Alright, so I want to go upper airspace. Matter of fact, let's do this a different way. I want to be able to put this part in here. So we'll do this, and then we'll go Auto Plus to bring up the optimizer window. Cambridge, I guess I was wrong about that. I'm sorry. Cambridge. Yeah, you asked me that already. Alright, so we got minimum time, upper airspace. And you know the other thing, well, you know, I'm just trying to find out the quickest way to get there right now. But I do want to avoid a certain airspace, North Korean airspace. That's not an airspace I want to fly through for political reasons, which most of you probably know. So I wanted to avoid that, so I'm going to put the fur boundary of First Center in there. All right, so that's fine. Let's see if it can find us a route. Now, I just want to know what's the most efficient way to do it today. All right, so there's our most efficient routing. Now, what I'm going to do from here, all right, is there's a thing called polar gateway fixes, and I want to figure out a way to route over those fixes and the closest way to do so. So let me go back here. I'll pull this up. I'm going to leave a link in the description to this particular PDF. It's not very long, but kind of down towards the bottom, it has these, and there's a lot of good information in here if you're curious about it. I don't know how much it's going to help you in Flight Simulator, but if you're just a person that, you know, wants to know. In any case, but these are your gateway fixes that you should route over. All right, they're all right here. All right. And if you look on PFPX, David is, or however that's pronounced, is the first one. So you can find those right where the this fur boundary right here begins. And let's see. All right, so there's the first fix here, and you see them all going down. Nalim, Luron. So if you go back to this, you'll see David, Nalim, Luron. You'll see them all there. And they go all the way down this fur boundary. So this is a gateway for the polar cap. All right. Now, one thing I guess I should throw in here already. All right, so this is the FAA polar op. So anything north of 78 degrees is considered the FAA polar ops. So keep that in mind. So if you're routing north of that, then you would be routing a polar flight. And it's also to note, there's one more thing. Hang on, let me find the picture I saved here somewhere. Flying through the keyhole, as they call it. So this is the keyhole, and the reason why is because magnetic north is about right there. And it moves. I mean, it takes a long time. I mean, centuries for it to move to any place that matters. But as of right now, it's sitting right here. So when you start flying north and getting over the cap, you know, magnetic north becomes basically useless in this area. It's just very erratic. Your compass might be spinning around, all kind of stuff. So at that point, you want to be flying based off true north. And you know, I usually, whenever I do this, I'm in a 777 on the Flight Simulator, and it goes to true north automatically. This is the FMS polar operations area. So when you reach inside of this boundary, it automatically flips to true north. So that way you don't have these issues with magnetic variation. But just wanted to note that so you guys are aware of it. So anyway, going back to this, it routed over orbit. Let's see, here's orbit here. So these are the altitudes that you can file over orbit. So see 280, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. So pretty much all the altitudes are available to you according to this. So there's your polar gateway fix that we'll be routing over. It did have 10 miles in trail, but hey, this is a simulator, so I doubt that's going to be an issue. So at this point, since it's routed over this fix here, and it did it like it should, you don't have to worry about doing anything else with the route. I mean, it says that it's the most efficient way to get there, so take it as is. So we'll route this way. We're getting out of ATC or New York airspace the way they want us to, so that way when you file this, if you're on VATSIM or something like that, they won't be all upset with you over it. Because a lot of times if you file something, you know, that's not something they're accustomed to using, a lot of times they'll end up asking you to change your route altogether. I've seen them do that both in the real world and on VATSIM. So anyway, so this is the route that it's giving us in there. I don't really see where there's an issue with it. It avoids North Korea barely, but it does. So that's about it as far as the route is concerned. So from that point, you'll just put your alternate on there the way you want. You know, it's up to you what alternate you want to use. That's your prerogative. I'm trying to select this, but it's not letting me. There we go. So I can just apply that one, no big deal there. All right, so then you have the issue with the ETOPS. Also, you probably want to use a redispatch on this one, or else you're going to be taking a hell of a lot of fuel. So I'll go ahead and let it do an auto redispatch. Again, you can let it do auto, and you can, figure out what airport you want to use. I'll just let it do that for example purposes. I'm not going to dig too deep into that. All right, guys, let me kind of backtrack here just a little bit. I realized I should have routed over the proper arrival fix in Hong Kong. The typical arrival there is the Sierra arrival, Sierra. So let me re-optimize the route for that. Most likely it's probably going to change the routing anyway altogether, since it's optimizing for a new fix. So what we'll do is we'll put in Greeky Judd's, Cambridge, and then we'll go Auto Plus to Sierra. And if you wonder where I got that from, just look at the routes on FlightAware, Flight Radar, wherever you like to get your routes from. You'll see that this is the typical arrival. So anyway, let's go ahead and build this. Yes for Cambridge, and yes for Hong Kong Sierra. Let's see what it comes up with. Alright, so we want upper airspace, minimum time, avoid that airspace, and the altitudes range from 240 to 40,000, and find. Alright, there we go. So yeah, it did change the route a little bit because the first one was coming a little more on the coast. So looks like Ramel, I guess, is our new entry fix. Yep, that is the case. So Ramel is going to be the new fix that we're routing over for our Polar Gateway fix. So that looks good. That's fine. That's the way it should be. Alright, so moving back over to what we were talking about earlier. So let's redo the redispatch, because it's going to be to a different area now. I'll let it have that. You guys can figure out how you want to use your airports, like I said. Just for simplicity purposes, I'll go ahead and let PFPX populate the adequate airports. So there's the adequate airport. So now I got to take care of this area as far as the ETOPS is concerned. Alright, so it looks like the last airport before, I'm going to turn icing on for sure. Looks like the last airport before I get out into the ETOPS area. Oops, sorry, my phone's ringing. What is that? Charlie Yankee Romeo Bravo. So let's go ahead and put that one in there. Charlie Yankee Romeo Bravo. And then we'll go BGSF, and then BGSF to how about Anchorage? Let's see, what is that airport up there? Not Anchorage, but it's an airport in Alaska. I forget the name of it, but anyway. So we use those two, and you can see it looks kind of weird here, but again, it's because it's trying to give it to you over the northern part of the earth. But as you can see, it's all covered. So those two airports, those are going to be my equal time airports. Excuse me. Alright, we're not going to do anything with the altitude and holding. There's really no need to. So from here, we'll just compute it. Fuel required exceeds maximum fuel on board, 320.8, limited by redispatch landing weight. Awesome. Alright, so what zero fuel weight again? Look at that zero fuel weight, it's humongous. So let's go, let's bring it down to 410. And let's compute this instead. Warnings, well, that doesn't look right at all. What's the altitude profile? 35, 36, 38, 31, 30. Not sure why it's saying that. Below the grid more, that's got to be an error of some kind. That's not right. Alright, so from there we got our flight plan. I'll go ahead and switch back to PFPX. I just want to use a flight plan software I was familiar with to check the vertical profile for that error. But anyway, so now you got it all set in here. Equal time points, your 180-minute ETOPS. So one thing that I want to check is the temperatures. You want to make sure if you're going to be in an area where the temperature is negative 65 or less for more than an hour, then you might run into fuel temp issues, particularly when you're planning over the North Pole like this. So one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you can fly lower altitude and have the fuel to do so if needed. So, and just bear with me here. Like I said, I don't use PFPX default flight planner much, so I don't really know where things are on it. So I'm just going to do this to make things a little faster. So you can see your temperatures here. So let's scroll on down. Let's look at our temperatures here. So you got a negative 49 here, negative 50, negative 50, negative 52. So it's getting pretty cold. We're still not at the negative 65 threshold yet. Negative 56. So it looks like right through this area here is where it's going to be the coldest. So the only thing I'm going to do to take care of that is here's what we do. So let's go back to fuel. Extra fuel, I'm going to do it by, no, let's go extra time. So let's just go with an extra 30 minutes. And I'm going to go over here to the speed, hold, and altitude, and I'm going to find, let's see what fixes this. Unelli, I guess it is. And I'm going to limit it to which way we're going. I mean, coming down straight the other side. Well, I'm going to limit it to 310. So I want to step down to 310 at that point, and I'm going to compute that. All right, and you can see it bumped up the fuel quite a bit. So let's go back here. I want to see if I can save some of that fuel. So by the time we get down to North Korea, it should be okay to climb back up. So, or getting in this area, I shouldn't say North Korea. So let's see at Poho, I guess that would be fine. So let me find Poho. So what I'm going to do is go back here. I'm going to let it climb back to optimum at Poho. So let me find Poho, because I don't want to put too much extra fuel on it, but I do want to make sure I'm protecting for that. So let's put optimum back in here. Let's compute it. All right, so to do that, looks like the fuel would be 268.5. We'll round it up to 0.5. So what I'm going to do, if you haven't already figured it out, what did I say it was again? 268.5. So I'm going to go 268.5. I'm going to enter that in for the fuel. I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to put all this back up to optimum. Matter of fact, I'm just going to take these out altogether. So now I'm going to let it plan optimum, and it's going to have that extra fuel there in case I need to descend to get to a warmer altitude to warm the fuel back up if I get into some temperature issues with the fuel freeze, because your fuel will freeze at about negative 37 degrees temperature. All right, so with that fuel, it's giving me an extra 42 minutes of fuel. So looks like, if you remember, I put in 30. So for that segment from BBAD, or excuse me, I'm saying that completely wrong, DBED all the way to Poho, if I had to descend through here, because this is where my coldest temperatures are, we looked at it on the flight plan, it would add an extra 12 minutes of fuel because it bumped it up to 42 once I re-optimized for the proper altitude with that fuel in that we put in order to know how much we needed in case we had to descend. So it's letting you know it's about 12 minutes worth of fuel it's going to cost you if you end up having to do that. So you put that in there to protect yourself, to make sure you got enough fuel. You won't end up having to descend, and then that, you know, it's going to be an increased burn at a lower altitude, and you don't end up with fuel issues because you had to descend because your fuel started freezing. So that's about it. that's really all there is to it as far as flight sim's concerned. I know it might have been kind of all over the place. I was doing my best to organize this as much as I could, but I was doing it on the fly. I didn't have anything kind of preset up here. So anyway, if you got any comments or any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. Other than that, that's about it. Till next time, we'll see you guys.